speaking of Scotland, say for instance you don't speak French, it is still easier for you to understand a Frenchman talking French to you than it is a Scotsman speaking English to you. And it's a lot easier because you're not supposed to understand French. Ostensibly, that guy's talking the same language that you learn. And you can't understand a word. And like the 8th time you go, what? Then you're embarrassed. With a Frenchman, you're like, what? And so I'm just saying. I actually went in Edinburgh. I was so like unnerved by this phenomenon that I went, okay, let's go to Pizza Hut for dinner. Because they have, and the other thing is, how are they going to sneak haggis on a pizza? Right? I mean, it's like, okay, you'll see a haggis on there, and pick it out. And I sit down at Pizza Hut thinking he's the international language of pizza, and no, he went, oh, and I went, what? Oh, the middle. And I went, what? And finally, just was like, fuck it, let's do Chinese. I ordered by the number, although I probably ate haggis. It's sweet and sour. Number 1. Anyway, so just so you know. And the other thing in Scotland, Scotch dipping is called tea. Don't embarrass yourself. In England, they don't have English muffins. And I know you're all going to go, no, they call them crumpets. No, I've seen a crumpet. It's not an English muffin. And if you ask for an English muffin, they're just like, sorry. Now we've come to that awkward part in my... I have other stuff that I could talk about, but I've already digressed long enough, so I'll take your question. I'll repeat your questions to the rest of the audience, and then I'll answer them at length until you start to get uncomfortable and go, God, I have to get home. So, does anybody have a question? You can ask me, it doesn't have to be on this book, because I haven't talked about this book. Yeah, sure. Sir.
Is it more flattering to have your work assigned in the classroom or banned from it?
Is it more flattering to be assigned in the classroom or banned from it? Much like all my status as a writer in general, I exist in a twilight zone between being banned and being assigned, in that teachers hand the book to the bright students under the desk and say, I didn't give this to you. And that's the honest to God truth. That's what I get letters every day from teachers who go, I would love to give this to my students, but I need my job. And you know what? Speaking to that, in order to answer the question that one of you is going to ask anyway, with Lamb, where we all thought, oh my God, he's going to have to check into the Salman Rushdie suite. It has been completely the opposite. I've gotten probably, I would say, 25,000 letters about, emails about Lamb, and as you guys know, I actually answer them. You're like, people always go, I actually get this all the time. Is it really you? And it's like, what, you can card me? Yes, I'm answering your email. Anyway, so of those 25,000, 3 have been made. 2 were from Alabama. And they hadn't read the book, but the idea of it pissed them off. And the other was from a retired Monsignor in Montreal. I don't know what a retired Monsignor does, except maybe not pray. But he was upset. He was upset that Lamb didn't match up to his Catholic theology. I'm like, oh really? So you don't have in Latin some version of Blessed are the dumb fucks, huh? Lamb is very surprisingly being taught in seminary now, in several seminaries, Episcopalian seminary, Lutheran seminary, Methodist seminary, not Baptist, okay, and Catholic priests. They read it, but they act like, they like all things Catholic. You do it, you just feel bad about it. All the Catholics are like, yeah! Oh, sorry. Anyway, another question from you guys. I'll quit interviewing myself. Yeah.
I was wondering if there was any books you've written that you got maybe a greater response from people, where they touched a chord with people more than you expected, and conversely, something that you thought was going to be a big hit and then didn't necessarily reach people the way you wanted it to.
He asked me, did I have books that I thought were going to be a big hit, and they didn't reach people the way I thought they would. Yeah, but I don't think that was because the people didn't respond to them the way I thought they would. I think it was because they, like my Bloodsucking Fiends was my first vampire book, and I thought, well, this is going to be, I'm just going to buy readers. It's going to be awesome, and they're going to make it into a movie and everything. And my publisher printed 9,000 copies of it. And as anybody in the book business will tell you, as soon as a bookstore sees that the publisher's only going to print, say, less than 10,000 copies, they're not going to order it. So it not only, it wasn't how the public reacted to it, it wasn't even in stores so people could buy it. So it, basically the reason, that I didn't write You Suck until 12 years later is I had to wait for my career to recover. So you can't go, oh, no, sold 8 copies, so the sequel will sell 4. So I had to wait until you guys are just like, oh, no, he can write about anything, I'll buy it. Yeah, You Suck. But I planned to write that book 2 years after the other one. So that was a disappointment. And the fact that it wasn't bought for a film right away was because Eddie Murphy had a vampire comedy that crashed and poisoned the earth. It was so bad it just poisoned the earth for all vampire comedies for 10 years. So that was probably the biggest as far as all of them are disappointments. Much like your children, and well, not the one that came to the door, but not the smartest, sweetest in the world. I'm talking about like my children. I don't have a chance. Anyway, we lost the train of thought here. Anybody else have a question? Yeah, yellow.
You've written 2 books now that are based on other people's material. Do you have a favorite character by another writer?
Do I have a favorite character by another writer? Wow, that's a good question. One that I don't have a prepared answer for. So allow me to think. Now, is that in regard to I might want to write a book about him, or I just really like him?
Either way.
I think Captain Nemo was really cool in Jules Verne's books. I started reading those when I was in 5th grade, and I was like, well, this guy's really cool. But I'm not certainly, there's characters I really like. Doc in Cannery Row, in Sonny Beck's Cannery Row, is a great character, as are many of the characters in that book, but I don't know that they're, I wouldn't pick that mantle up, I'll mess around with Shakespeare, but I'm not. What's he going to do? Although I probably should have thought about that Jesus thing. Anyway. There's time. Captain Nemo comes to mind as just a really distinct, in-your-face sort of terrific character. Another question?